Well, we're back at it. Here comes another action figure tutorial on freshly baked props. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Freshly Baked Props. As always, this is Tony. And I know last week I said I was going to do a costume-based episode, but unfortunately, due to circumstances out of my control, like not having the costume here because it's still with the model, I decided to just go with another action figure-based tutorial. I had some requests to do a Carnage Symbiote tendril tutorials, so I said, fuck it, I'll just do this. So I don't want to waste any more time. I'm going to just jump right into the tutorial. When I come back out, I'll tell you what I still plan to do to this guy. All right, we're going to jump right into it. First things first, I hate when they do this thing with these guys' hands where they mold it to their hands. I mean, I know he has this as a prominent weapon of Carnage, the axe, but I felt like they could have made this an accessory or given him extra hands like a fist like they have here. So I just went and cut this off, and I figured I would add it on as an accessory after the fact. You can do this too if you want, or you can just leave it as is. But it just stuff like this drives me crazy because I like to have fists for the guys. So once I got it off, it took a little bit of time, and just because I don't want to mess up the hand itself, so I cut it as best I could. And once I got it off, I had a fist now, and now he has an extra hand pretty much, and this will be an extra accessory that you can remove. In terms of wire, I used 16 and 18 gauge. For the arm part, I used 16, I'm pretty sure. I think it was the thicker of the two. Only because I wanted it to be more stable on his arm and stuff like that. I don't want it to kind of flop around. So right here, I just wrapped it around. It didn't really matter what it's going to look like because I'm going to cover it in red and black hot glue anyway. So another thing, too, I didn't like is they just made it red. Like the axe is just red and then his whole body is black and red. That really made no sense to me. So that's why I wanted to go back through and make this a little bit better. As you can see now, I got it all wired up. And like I said, it's going to get covered in hot glue, so it's not going to matter. So you right here, you just match it up. I matched up the axe to where I cut. And then I started wrapping the wire around his arm, basically to figure out where it's going to stay. And I got it pretty damn close to where I had cut it, so I was pretty happy. Once you wrap it around, too, it's not going to matter because you're going to unwrap it and glue it anyway. But that's, yeah, now it stays and pretty close to where I had cut it. And now you just really start the glue process. You just cover all the wires. And I started with red because at first I wanted to see if I liked it all as the basic red. As I went further and further, I really didn't like it, so I made the conscious decision halfway through this that I was going to go black and red. So I just covered the whole wire, got it all covered up. Halfway through this, I realized that I should have started with black first, started with a black base, and then put the red on top because that's kind of how he looks. But I learned that after this one, but it still looked good when I was done. So right here, I'm just still adding the red. I'm just trying to cover up all the wires because I don't want nobody to see no wires. And I kind of want it to look like it's going to be spraying out of his arm, or it's like forming from his arm, like the symbiote is coming from not just his fist, but also his arm. So it looks like he has more control over the axe. This is tedious, like, because you got to really get every little spot and make sure everything's covered. But once you, the more time you take on it, the better results you're going to heed. So I would suggest you just take your time, and you're going to use a lot of hot glue too. So just be prepared for that. These glue sticks I got on Amazon. For about $11.99 a pop. I couldn't get thick red ones. I can only get the small ones. That's why I'm using the small glue gun. This glue gun only went to a hot temperature, so it was, the red glue was really hot, but the black glue, since I have a multiple settings, I put it on low and I had no issue. It never burns my fingers on low. But here I started adding some black just to give it some more detail, and like I said, I didn't like it just red. It just didn't look, it looked too plain to me. So I just said, fuck it, and I started adding red. You can do this with paints, too, I guess. I just did it with glue because it just looks more like the symbiote than paint would. But if you don't want to spend the money on hot glue or waste your time with hot glue, I guess you could get paint and do it. I'm saying that now, but like if you look at it, just the detail on it, it looks kind of like a symbiote. This black glue and this red glue was really, really good for this stuff. So I would highly recommend it. I'll link it in the description below so you guys can, if you guys want to try this, you can get the glue fairly easy. But this is all it really is just taking your time, just seeing how you like it, just making it however you want. See, now it kind of having more looks symbiotic, and it's just like attached to the axe. Can't even really tell. And I didn't like that the axe was just red, so I added a little bit of glue on, a little black glue onto it just to give it some more details, some color. See, as I did it, and I was just looking at Carnage. I have Carnage on the table as a reference just so I could see like how sporadic the black looks on the red, and just so I can get it fairly close and matched right up to him, and it would just look like I bought it that, like, or I got it that way. I didn't really, I didn't make this, customize this at all. This is really, like I said, this is really easy. Just take your time with it. I just rubbed the hot glue. I didn't really squeeze. I just, like all the little driplets that were coming out, I just rubbed onto the axe. And there you go. It matches pretty well. This red hot glue matched pretty well to Carnage's body. I didn't really have to change any color or anything like that. Now I started on the back piece. This is the same way I did the Venom one. So if you watched my Venom video, I just did it the same way. But for this, I covered the whole wire in black glue first, and then I added all the red accents and detail. Here it took me a little bit of finagling to make sure that I got it just right to fit in his back, the peg in his back, because I squeezed the wires too close together and didn't fit. For all of this, I used 18 gauge. I started to use the 16 gauge, I think, after I got this in. Once I made more tendrils attached to this piece, I used the thinner wire. I use the thinner wire for this, and the shield and sword I make for him later on. Like I said, this is a little bit of a process. Just make sure you get it right. But once you do it, see, now I added all the extra pieces, and now he's ready to go. This also helps him stand, and you can hang him virtually from any like shelf or any area that you need to when you make these things. That's why I love making these things. I'm planning on making one for all the other symbiotes that they have in the line. I just got to make sure I can get all the colors. I know Riot might be an issue because I got to get white hot glue, but I think they have that. You just basically use the Gorilla Glue that they have. They have Gorilla Glue sticks, which I also highly recommend. Here, I just, like I said, just if you watch my Venom tutorial, it's the same deal. Just cover it all up in hot glue and make sure you get all the detail that you want. You can go as thick as you want. The thicker you go, the harder it is going to be to bend this stuff. So just keep in mind, while it is, you know, it's encouraged to be generous with the hot glue, so you get a nice thick tentacle. Don't go too crazy because you might make it hard to bend the wire and stuff, and it might be an issue. It might be annoying. Again, I went a little bit at a time here. I went halfway up. As you can see, the red hot glue is really hot. This gun is on high. It's not on low, so make sure this stuff doesn't touch because it will burn you immediately. But also just keep an eye because see how it just would leak off. But I like the way it leaks off because if you kind of cool it down before it drips completely off, you'll get like those symbiote type of splatter effect where it looks like it's alive. It doesn't look like it's just kind of flat. I see as you're going on, you're seeing all the droplets and stuff. The symbiote looks pretty cool, but like I said, you gotta be careful with that hot glue because it will burn you. Like I said, it's definitely a long process. Just take your time with it. Just know that like the red hot glue, because it was so hot, was literally reheating the black hot glue, so I had to be real careful to just make sure it was going to stay and nothing was going to melt off completely. So I would recommend 2 low temp guns if you can afford them. If you can get them, get them. Like I said, I unfortunately couldn't find the big red hot glue sticks because I have another big glue gun like the Stanley one I have. So I had to go with this little hot detail gun that I have, and I just had to be real careful. I burned myself a couple times, but you know, I'm very careful with these guns. It's just black base and then red on top. Just like I said, take your time. If you like the detail like that, you can leave it as is. You want to go, like I said, a little bit thicker. I recommend a little thicker. Don't go too much because then it like I said, it gets to be a pain in the ass when you got to bend it around. But there it is. There's the finished when I'm done. I still want to add a little bit more splatter effect. I started to run out of red hot glue, so I just wanted to go further and finish the other things. Here I started the shield. I figured he would have like a defensive shield, so I guess I just kind of winged it. Whatever I felt like I wanted him to have, I made. And this was my test to make the spikes, because I know Carnage has he uses spikes a lot for his tentacles. So this essentially, at first I made a test, and then I liked the way it looked, but it was way too big, so I just decided to make it a shield. And here you just make an outline of the wire and then just kind of fill it in. Do it on top of parchment paper, so then the glue will just peel right off the parchment paper. You can use aluminum foil too. It'll work with aluminum foil, or it will work with the plastic fronts to the action figure boxes, but only if the glue was low. If this red hot glue was too high, it melted right through the plastic when I tried it. And this is just, you layer it and just get the desired look you want. This was another piece that I didn't really have enough red hot glue to add splatters to all around the edges of the shield to make it look more like the symbiote. This to me looks too uniform. It looks too perfect. So I ordered more hot glue. It's on the way, and I'm gonna add more splatter effects to it because I want it to look more realistic, or at least more Carnage look. Like I said, his symbiote is more crazy and chaotic. So that'll be more detail as once I get the hot glue. This wasn't the only detail piece I made too. I made a shield, and I figured he would make a giant blade instead of an axe too. So I made this. Like I said, it was a test to see if I can make spikes, and obviously I can, so I will. And then I made a sword too, just to see if I can make like a large stabbing weapon for him. If I'm being honest, I didn't really like it. I think I could do better, but for what it was and how quickly I was able to put it together, I was happy. Now I'm putting the backs onto the shield, so wrap right around his arm. All you can do is just take 2 pieces of wire, line it up on the back how you want, and then just glob a shit ton of this glue on. I did black first, then red just for detail. This way, if anybody looks behind him, it'll look more like the symbiote still attached to him. Next, as you can see next to him, I did the sword. It just looks like a weird looking blade thing, but I do give the blade an edge and everything like that. But here, see, as you can see, I'm just adding more detail pieces just to make sure. Now, once this dries, I bent the wires and then cover the wires in red hot glue. For the edge here, I just took my X-Acto knife and I just ran it up the sides and I just kind of carved the edge because this hot glue, which is really literally like, peels right off. And you do get a nice little edge, but it looked very jagged. It looked almost like a serrated knife, so I didn't really like it. So what I did was I just ran the edge of the hot glue gun along where I cut, and it really smoothed it out nicely. I liked it. I did like a little bit of the jaggeds because he never really has a perfect looking blade. From all the comic images and the video game, like some Carnage images that I saw, it always looked crazy. It doesn't look like a perfect blade. So here I'm just adding more detail because I didn't like how much black was there. But there's the sword, and basically that end wraps right around his arm, no problem. But it was pretty easy to make. Here, I just watched my Venom tutorial I made a long time ago so I can hang him from my shelf. It's the same way I made the Venom one. I just did black first, then red. And here I did some splatter effects. Like I said, watch my Venom tutorial to learn how I did that. But that's it, guys. Thanks. So that was the tutorial, guys. Thanks for watching. I still have stuff that I want to plan to do to this guy. I want to make some of these more jagged and sporadic. I want to add some more spatter. I just have to wait for some red glue. I ran out of red glue. And I want to add some spiky edges to these because I know he has a lot of stabbing things on his tentacles. Same with the shield. The shield looks too uniform. I want to make it more chaotic and have some spillage coming off of it. Like I said, I hope you guys like this video. Like and subscribe to my channel. I have freshly baked props episodes coming out every Tuesday, and I have reviews coming out every Friday. I'm going to plan to do some comedy skits coming out during midweeks and stuff like that. So just keep up with this channel, and I'll have daily content for you guys as always. Next week's freshly baked props, like I said, I know I was going to do a costume-based episode, but if I don't get the costume back, I'm going to do another action figure-based episode where I'm going to make Wolverine claws out of metal because I hate the claws that come with the Marvel Legends figures. So, thank you again for watching. Like I said, like and subscribe, and as always, I will catch you guys on the flip.